Welcome to the Brand Theory Podcast, the podcast for helping you uncover your passion, realize your purpose, and take the aligned action. Together, we're going to prove the theory that when we live our lives on brand, the possibilities become limitless. I'm your host, Danielle Marquesi, branding expert and business coach. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Brand Theory Podcast, guys. Today we have another special guest, Torrey Felber. We kind of met in the world wide web of the internet, and we had such a great conversation through Instagram, voice notes, and just back and forth. And I'm so excited to introduce this episode to you and introduce her to you and this platform. She has such a powerful message, such a powerful story that I know you guys are going to find both inspirational, helpful, and motivational. Torrey Felber is the founder and CEO of Feel Good Girl and your go-to nutrition and fitness expert. Her passion and focus is to support entrepreneurs in being the CEO of their wellness through restoring the relationship with their mind and body so that they can show up as their most powerful and confident self. Torrey is a certified personal trainer and health and nutrition coach. For the last 3 years, Torrey has supported her clients in losing hundreds of pounds while still enjoying the things they love. Torrey fully believes in helping people create a balance that is simple and sustainable to achieve their individual goals. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode. Welcome to the show, Torrey. I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, I was telling her before we pressed record that we had such a good conversation in DMs with when we were talking about booking this, and I'm very excited to hear what I read and heard through voice messages, and excited to bring that story to you guys. So the first question I really have is, in your own words, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey, how you got to this point in your business, and just kind of how you work with your clients.
Yeah, so my journey originally kind of started through me experiencing anxiety as a young adult. I was 16 at the first time that I experienced anxiety. I was actually taking a test and I didn't know what was happening. And I just remember feeling so overwhelmed and crying. And my teacher would not let me leave the room. She just kept saying, push through it, and just finish your test. I don't think she understood, that I was having anxiety at the time. I ended up running out of the classroom in tears and kept having things like that happen for years. And I really, truly just thought that that was just something I was going to have to live with for the rest of my life. And I never really talked about it. I didn't tell friends about it. I didn't tell family about it. I just knew that I felt really crappy a lot. And it was really interesting because as soon as I started talking about it, I realized that I'm not alone and I don't have to live, feeling that way anymore. So I really dove into self-development and learning about how our bodies work. And through that, I actually learned that I was not taking care of myself as much as I thought that I was. And so through that journey of self-exploration, I was able to find the mindset piece and the fitness piece and the nutrition piece for myself. And now I teach all of that to other women.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. It's like a sucky thing that we have to go through those experiences, but it's also an opportunity. We can change those experiences into such an opportunity to obviously help ourselves and then help this crazy large community that has a ripple effect of once they're kind of healed in a sense in their health and their mental health, they get to kind of go off and help people in their own unique way. So that's super powerful. And I'm glad you got to that point where you're able to share that gift with us all.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I feel like anxiety, when we're probably around a similar age, but you were 16 when you kind of had 16, you said, or 14?
I was 16 the first
16,
time.
that first time. And I feel like that's kind of when we start to develop into our quote unquote own person. And we start having all these new feelings and whatnot, and the stress of picking a career and going to college and all that. So I feel like that's when it kind of happened for me too. But like you said, I had no idea that that's what it was. I had no clue that this was an experience that can actually be worked with and doesn't have to define your whole life. So I love that you were able to do it in your own way. So my next question I have for you is, who is Torrey the brand and how does she tie that into the Feel Good Girl brand?
So my name for my brand actually came from that exploration that I was talking about. I went from feeling miserable all the time, feeling unworthy, and really just not wanting to be here to just realizing that I don't have to feel that way and I get to choose how I'm going to feel. And I started feeling really good because I focused on all the things that I'm thankful for and all the new things that I can bring into my life. And going for such a big shift from feeling so negative all the time to feeling good, I was like, well, that's how I want everyone to feel. So when I came up with the name Feel Good Girl, it was the first name I picked, and I wasn't sure about it at first. And I wrote out probably like 30 other things, but that one just kept resonating with me. So I ended up picking that as the name, and it really plays into that because that is truly what I'm teaching people to be able to do. Is I want them to feel good, not just with their mindset, but in their bodies as well. I want people to feel confident, and I want people to feel sexy and loved
Yeah, I
and
love that.
beautiful.
So
Yeah.
when you're working with people, or even if somebody's looking to kind of create that or start that of process of feeling good again, do you suggest starting with the mindset stuff or starting with the physical stuff, starting with a combination of both, or does it really kind of depend on the person?
Most cases, I start with the mindset stuff. It's not always that case, but the majority of people I work with, yes, we want to dig through all that stuff that's holding them back, and a lot of it, comes from those traumas as a kid or their own anxieties if people experience anxiety, which I
Yeah.
come across quite a lot with my clients. And you'll see that it's something that you probably don't even realize from your
Yeah.
childhood that is causing that you just haven't healed and haven't thought about in a long time, so you don't even realize that that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like you're in a little bit of a similar point where sometimes as coaches, we take on those roles as a little bit of a therapist, and that can be very heavy on us. And I know we're kind of jumping all around here, but I feel like this is a really important point to bring up for any coaches who are also experiencing the same thing is how do you make sure that you prioritize your own health and wellness so that you can serve your clients better? Do you have strict boundaries in your business? Do you have strict boundaries around your client work? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I teach all of my clients, and I do this as well, is I put my own health and wellness at the forefront of my business. So when I'm scheduling out my week, the very first thing that I do is I schedule in anything that I need for the week that is health and wellness related. So for me, I love going to the gym, and I personally want to be doing that about 5 days a week just because it really helps me like get energy out and feel really good.
Mhm.
So I schedule that in every single day. And then I schedule in the rest of my week for my client calls and anything like this, like recording podcasts and
Yeah.
all of that. Time block it. So like my client calls, I do Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'm usually on Zoom for the majority of the day. And I do that on purpose so that I'm focusing on one activity for the whole
Hmm.
day and not jumping around. And then I schedule breaks in as well. So
Yeah.
that way you can recoup your brain, have a little time to eat, relax, all of
Yeah.
that as well.
Scheduling in those breaks I find is very, very important. They're very easy to not schedule in and they're very easy to skip. But when we do take that time, even if it's like 15 to 20 minutes to refuel in terms of taking a walk or eating something, it does such great work in such a short amount of time. And it's the thing that we skip the most, but we really, really, really should not.
Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
glad
And
that you schedule that in.
absolutely. And I think as entrepreneurs, we kind of get stuck in that like go, 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 go
Yeah.
a lot. And that's really where that tool comes in handy because it does really allow you to reset and refresh and then come back better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, let's shift a little bit to personal branding. So you took the quiz and you got the result of the caregiver, which you had said very much represents you. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about that like personnel side of you that you feel as the caregiver and how you kind of bring that element into your business, whether that's social media or your client work, marketing, or anything that you feel called to share.
Yeah, I laughed when I took your quiz and I got that because no matter what quiz it is, I always get something in that realm, whether it's like caregiver, teacher, or coach, that all falls into that category. And it's just funny because that's just totally how my whole life has been. I'm the friend that everyone goes to for advice. I'm the first person that people call when they have questions about something, or really have like a big life decision, anything like that. I've always been that person. And
Yeah.
I think it just comes from being a really good listener, and just really allowing that person to talk, but in a way where they can kind of figure out the answer, and I just kind of guide them. So I don't always tell them like, you need to do X, Y, and Z, but it's more of helping them realize that the answer is already within them. And so that's like exactly what I do with my clients as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a role that coaches take on, but sometimes we have a little bit of trouble putting ourselves in our clients' shoes. And I feel like an experience that you may have had is when you were developing or going through your personal development, you may have subliminally been asking yourself the same questions and allowing yourself the space to kind of live and breathe. And I feel like I'm not saying that the caregiver wasn't always your personality, but I feel like your experiences, again, going back to our experiences that we kind of have to go through, it really, really helped shape you for the role that you play now with your clients and the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about social media. As we know, social media is a super powerful tool for our businesses to build our brand and to build just our business in general, get our word out there. But before we had press record, you actually told me that you took a week off of social media. And I feel like that's amazing. And not a lot of people are willing to even do that. And I'm sure it's a great way for you to check in with yourself about your own health and wellness, mindset, physical, everything. Do you recommend doing that? And how often do you recommend doing it?
Yeah, so I'm going to be totally honest, this is the first time I've ever done that.
Okay.
And I feel way better now that I did that. I think with everything going on this year, there's been an extra added layer of stress on everyone. And I think I did a very good job of like keeping it together at the beginning and all of that. But this last month, I have just felt immense pressure and a lot of like stress when it comes to like the state of where we're at and, everything that comes with that. So I decided, you know what, you just need to stop reading, stop bringing all that energy into yourself, and just allow yourself to just be present with yourself and reconnect with your why, and, take that time for yourself, because it is healthcare, be able to step back and allow yourself to heal and to relax and just really ask yourself like what you're needing in that moment. So that's what I did. And I only was responding to a couple of DMs on Instagram, but other than that, wasn't scrolling, wasn't posting, nothing. I completely took a step back for an entire week, and I feel a lot better.
And did you tell your audience that you were doing that, or is it just something that you just did?
I just did it.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we don't really have to explain why we do things, but it could also be a great learning experience like that. You're sharing the story now. Like, I want people to hear that that's okay. And I don't want you to worry about, if you're feeling called to do that, I'm going to lose momentum in my business, or my audience is going to be mad at me, because that's not the case at all. Our audience, our community, our clients want us to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of them, show up for them, provide them with better value. And the only way to do that is if we're taking care of ourselves. So if it's a week off of social media, if it's a month off of social media, it doesn't mean you're not working. You're working on yourself. You're working on different things inside your business, but you're taking care of yourself so you can show up better for others.
Totally. And people aren't going to be mad. Like you said, like I've had a couple of people like, oh, hey, are you okay? And that means they care. They're not mad at you,
It means they care. And I feel like too, you doing that is giving permission for other people to do it. It's like, okay, she did it, so it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
We kind of talked about this, but how do you really stay balanced in this such a fast online moving world? Or how do you kind of make sure you're curating content, make sure you're being there for your clients? We talked about you prioritizing your health and wellness, but in terms of running your business, because obviously online we always appear like we have it all together, but we know behind the scenes, sometimes the shit hits the fan, so to speak. So how do you kind of balance the inner work of your business?
Yeah, so I'm a projector, if anyone's into human design. Okay, so yeah, energy protectant is very important for us, as you know. So what I've learned works best for me is I content batch like crazy. So, and what I mean by that is not just like writing out my materials, but I also film my videos. I batch film everything. So if it's like a Sunday, usually is when I do that, and it's when I'm feeling really high energy, I'll batch usually 2 weeks worth of stuff and kind of just rotate rotate through them. Even if that week I get to that video that I want to use and it's not the right fit, then I'll, do something else. But that way I have a bunch of film of me talking and all of that. And that energy was spent on one day rather than trying to show up physically every single day, because some days I'm tired and I'm not going to be able to show my face and communicate at a high level like I want to show up.
Yeah. So then just to clarify, when you say your videos, you mean like your Instagram videos and everything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. How do you make sure, like, what if during the week your message switches or you want to say something different, but you don't have the time to film? Are you okay with just kind of putting photos up and doing it in a different way and doing text over it? Are you kind of, basically what I'm trying to get at is, yes, okay, let's schedule it as much as we can, but where do you leave room in your schedule for that kind of freedom flow at all?
Yeah, I definitely do. And sometimes what I have planned might not work. Sometimes things, shift and you're not expecting them. And at that point, if that happens, like I'll either, show my face and talk about whatever in that moment because it's really important and needs to be said, or I'll do what you're talking about where it's the text over whatever. If I'm out, I can show like I'm at a coffee shop and put text over it or something like that.
I love that. Okay. I would love to hear about some of your favorite brands that you follow, whether that's like influencers or other health coaches that you respect in the business, even brands that you just love buying from. What are some of your favorite people or brands to follow?
I really like the Skinny Confidential. She is a blogger and a podcaster. I love her. She's so funny. And just like, I've loved seeing her grow, and her podcast is just amazing. I love going there just to kind of learn. I've been following her for a really long time, so she's one of my favorites. Another one is Rich Roll. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah. Does he have a podcast too?
He does, the Rich Roll podcast.
Yeah, I think I've listened to his podcast before.
Yeah, he's very inspirational. He used to be a marathoner, and he's just like everything he talks about, I'm like, wow, you're really cool. I'd love to meet him. And then more so like in the coaching world, the Social Bungalow, her name is Shannon Lutz. Love her.
That's how we met, guys.
Yeah, she is like a marketing genius.
Yeah, she definitely is. Yeah, those are some really good brands. Definitely go check those out, guys. So inside my personal development world, people are always asking me, I want to share more. I know I should share more about that personal side of me, but I just don't know where to start. So I always suggest starting with 3 things. And that could be 3 things as basic as your coffee, your morning walks, your morning ritual, TV that you're watching, or they could be a little bit more complicated, not complicated, but a little bit more in depth, like your relationship with your mom or your significant other, or just something that would have a little bit more built conversation behind it. So I'm wondering if you had to define your own 3 things, what do you think they would be?
I would definitely say working out is a big one. I'm always showing myself in the gym. I do talk about my anxiety quite a lot on the personal side, and then probably my dog. I show him all the time.
And that's great. And I think that shows such a human side of you, right? And your dog too, I'm sure, is a big part of your life, and people like seeing that human side. They like connect, especially with what you're saying before in today's day and age with this crazy year that we're having. People are craving those true, genuine human connections. And by showing those 3 things, that's exactly what we're giving our audience. We're building up that like, trust, and know factor.
Yeah, absolutely. People want to see you,
Yeah. Was it scary for you to start talking about your anxiety in the online space?
Yeah, it was. And I realized that a lot of that fear was fear of judgment, but I had to remind myself that I wasn't the only one that was experiencing that, and kind of bring myself back to that place where when I was younger, I felt like I was alone, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like that. And so I kind of just reminded myself of what it felt like to feel like I was by myself, and push through that, because I was like, I don't want anyone to feel like that. So I get to be the forefront of that and talk about it, because there are people who are out there who think that they are alone and that they are the only ones experiencing that. And when they see somebody like me talking about it, they have that realization that, it's okay.
Yeah. It goes back to that whole permission thing too. By you kind of taking that leap for us, you're giving us all permission to kind of look at it for ourselves. And also, if we're feeling called to talk about it on our own platforms, because the ripple effect starts to take place, then you're giving us that like green light bulb of go for it. It's okay. We're all in this together kind of thing. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have just one more question for you. I feel like this has been such a great and fast moving interview, and I love that style. Was there a time, and you've kind of already answered this, but is there something else that's coming to mind when you were living your life off brand and you were in alignment? Maybe that was something in your business. I know a lot of people start their businesses doing one thing and then they transition to something else because they follow this inner intuitive pull. So was there an example that you can think of where you were living off brand, and how did you navigate to start living back on brand?
So I used to bartend, and I was bartending for 10 years, and I kind of always knew that I wanted to help people,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know what that looked like. And so I looked into buying a gym, and there's a lot that goes behind that. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I'm
oh,
sure.
that's not going to be the right fit. So I went back to bartending, and I would say that's when I was living off brand, because I knew in my heart I wanted to do something in that field, and looking at gyms scared me off from it because it wasn't the right fit. So I actually bartended, I think, for another like 4 years before I shifted into coaching. And that's when I really was like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Did you have like a light bulb moment when you knew what you were doing? Was it a culmination of different experiences and feelings?
Yeah, I would say it was a light bulb moment. I was working out at an F45, which if anyone listening doesn't know what that is, it's a high intensity interval training group coaching gym.
Okay.
So they do like weightlifting classes and cardio classes, and they're all high intensity. And I knew the owners pretty well, and they were like, oh, can you teach a class for us? And I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, no way. But I did it. And immediately within 5 minutes, all those fears that I was having that I was going to be terrible were gone, and I killed it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing anything that has to do with health and wellness, coaching, all of that. And that's when I started my business. So shortly after that.
I love that. And for anybody who hasn't had the light bulb moments, but you feel that pull towards doing something, the only way to really get to the light bulb moment is to take the action, like feel that fear and kind of do it anyway. And like she just said, she didn't want to do the class, but she felt this intuitive pull to do it. She was terrified, but she did it anyway. And that's how she got to her light bulb moments. If you're feeling something similar, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. That fear that you guys are feeling is the guide. So follow it.
Follow the fear.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us where we can find more of you and what you are currently working on. What's coming up next for you in your brand and your business?
Yeah, so if you're on Instagram, you guys can find me there. That's where I usually hang out the most. It's Feel Good Girl. There is no I in girl, so it's GRL. If you are a Facebook lover, I have my own Facebook group as well. It's the Feel Good Girl community, so you can search and add me on there, and I will get you in the fun group. I do have a Black Friday sale coming up. It is for my mini one-on-one sessions. They are 90-minute sessions where you'll hop on Zoom with me, and we're going to take a deep dive into your health and wellness issues. Totally depends on you as a person, but a lot of things that we'll dive into is things like energy levels or fixing gut issues, things like that we'll really take a deep look at and come up with an exact plan for you so that you can walk away feeling confident and knowing what foods to eat for whatever your situation is. And that's going to be running from the 23rd until the 30th of November.
Love that. And we could all use that right now, a little cleanse and revamp of the health as we go into 2021. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this with us today. Are there any last thoughts you have for us?
Just, enjoy your life, be grateful, and take a moment today to find something that makes you happy and let yourself live in that moment.
I love that. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. We will
Welcome.
talk to you soon.
Bye.